Hello again, friends. Time for In Other News. And of course, nobody's paying attention to any news anymore because the semester is over for starters, but also because it's almost Christmas. And so everybody has to go out and buy lots of useless crap for the ones that they love to show that somehow useless crap is a symbol of love. But sorry, I'm not trying to rain on the Christmas spirit. I'm an old Grinch myself, I suppose. However, let's talk about some in other news that I think is worthy of attention, and you ain't going to hear nothing about this stuff in the U.S. press, not the least of which is because virtually no Americans understand anything about what's going on in Pakistan, much less internal politics, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit. It looks to me, and many others following, that we could be seeing the end days of one Asif Ali Zardari, the president of Pakistan. This is a guy, for those of you that know me or a lot of Pakistani friends of mine who I've talked to, anybody who's been in my class or read the textbook, I have a very low opinion of this guy. I'm putting that out there first and foremost. Don't think of him much as a politician or a president. For starters, he's not even a politician. He became the president of Pakistan about 3 years ago now. Why? Because he was running for office? Because he had good programs? Because he had some policies? He was popular? No, because his wife was assassinated. He wasn't even running for the office. And his wife, who was running for the office, one Benazir Bhutto, who was beloved in the country and probably was going to win the election, was assassinated a couple months before the election. And in a show of sympathy, the Pakistani people decided to put her widow into office, and that's Asif Zardari. Already, you probably have a headache, because I've had a headache for 3 years trying to figure this out, and I'm trying to get my Pakistani friends to tell me about what's up with this. It's just the way it is. In fact, it's kind of the way it is in Indian politics, too. They're next door. Family lineage is kind of a big deal in South Asian politics. There are still folks who have the last name of Gandhi that are a family, almost mafia of power. That's the wrong word because that is a negative connotation of illegal. But I mean, this is like a ruling family. It's not a monarchy, but the Gandhis still are the heavy hitters in Indian politics. And so what seems an anathema to us here in the United States, I think in most democracies, that you have this kind of family thing, is kind of par for the course over there. So I guess I shouldn't say that. We've had a couple of Bushes. Wasn't there? Who were the first kind of father-son or father-grandson duo that was the Adams? Yeah, we had a couple of Adams, the Adams family in early American politics, and we've had a couple of Bushes, and who knows, maybe we're going to have a couple Clintons before it's all over with. But we typically don't think of this kind of family lineage as the status quo for why you elect politicians. Anyway, they do in Pakistan and India, and so Asif Zardari, with 0 qualifications, became president. I shouldn't say 0 qualifications. He had former positions in other governments under his wife, when his wife was the prime minister before. And he actually has been accused of pretty much every felony you could think of, every type of bribery, every type of theft, every type of corruption charge this guy's had levied against him, and somehow he's managed to sneak out of most of them. He spent time in jail as well. So he's a pretty seedy character. And again, I don't mean to offend the Zardari family, and I certainly don't want to offend any of my Pakistani friends, but he's just really a strange dude to be a president of a country, and he hasn't had particularly a lot of success since he's gotten into power for 3 years. I'm not sure anybody could. To defend him momentarily, I'm not sure anybody could have done a good job in Pakistan in the last several years, but he's not done good. The economy of Pakistan continues to spiral downwards. It's gone nowhere. The war on terror is still tremendously horrific for Pakistan. Every Pakistani president has been in the position of having to kind of kiss up to the United States because they receive so much funding from the United States and they're supposedly allies of the United States. But so they're caught between having to kiss up to the United States and public perception in Pakistan, which is they hate the United States. So there's always this clash of they have to do something that most people in Pakistan don't like them doing, and so it's just a mess. And this guy has made perhaps a bigger mess out of the mess. But I'm getting off track. Let me get to the news. I think this guy's days are numbered. Because of a couple different things. Lots of different things. Corruption charges and felony charges and all this other stuff behind the scenes. And his political party, the PPP, the Pakistani People's Party, I think they're doing okay, and they'll probably win the next election, but they have not done a lot for the country. And one other little tidbit I should throw in. The office of the presidency in Pakistan doesn't really mean a lot anyway, because the real power is held by the military. Now we'll get to, okay, what's going on now that I think now is the end days for Zardari are coming. First, on December 6th, I believe, so just a week and a half ago, Zardari was emergency evac flown out of the country. He's currently in Dubai, at an American hospital in Dubai, I think, receiving treatment for perhaps a heart attack, perhaps a stroke. Details are still sketchy. There was numbness in a left arm and falling in and out of consciousness. And on December 6th, when I heard about it, I'm like, oh, this guy's done. He's done because there's so many people that hate him. The Pakistani people hate him, at least a lot of them. Obviously, all the militants and terrorists who want to take over Pakistan hate him. The U.S. government don't like him that much. And most importantly, the Pakistani military does not think highly of him either. So as soon as I heard, oh, this guy's had an episode, something's up, he's hurt, and he's left the country, to me, I thought he's done that day. Because, think about this, why would a president or leader, the top leader, supposedly the most powerful person in the country, it's not the case in Pakistan, but supposedly the most powerful person in the country, gets hurt and leaves the country. This always amazes me, and to me, you know when a administration or leader is in trouble, that the first sign of real trouble, they leave their own country. They don't seek medical help in their own country, they leave. In fact, Hugo Chavez just did that about 6 months ago, and I report on that. I'm like, what's up with that? Why would you leave your own country? It doesn't show a big vote of support in the healthcare facilities of your country, for one. And in Zardari's case, it also shows an extreme lack of confidence in the people supposedly backing up his government, which is supposed to be the military. The military don't like him, and everybody knows it. So anytime again, here's Zardari, maybe having a heart attack, maybe having a stroke, his inclination is get the hell out of the country. Otherwise, I'm either going to die because of bad health care, maybe. I don't know the Pakistani healthcare system. But more possible, there might be some sort of internal military coup in a time of weakness. And that is the real fear that I've had for Zardari for going on a week and a half now. And he hasn't returned. He's still hanging out. Apparently he's not on death's door, but he's recovering in a hospital in Dubai, not his own country. And I think that's happening because everybody's waiting to see if a coup occurs. And that's what I wanted you to be smart about. In other news, that's what we're kind of waiting on. Is a military coup about to happen? Are the military leaders who hold the true power in Pakistan, let's just call a spade, they're the ones with the real power. And I'm not saying they have the real power because they have all the guns. No. They have the real power because they have all the guns, the lion's share of the federal budget, and all real power and control over not just the military, but perhaps the press and the propaganda machine that informs most Pakistani people. You don't get a story run through about military actions or foreign policy. That does not get to the Pakistani people unless it's vetted through the Pakistani military. And foreign policy is the same way. They're the ones that control foreign policy. And that's why I'm suggesting that Zardari's in some trouble here. And no matter who would have won the presidency, would have been in some trouble because the Pakistani presidency, quite frankly, is just not the most powerful position in the country. It's supposed to be, but it's not. It's their elected government is just exceptionally weak and exceptionally corrupt. And everybody knows it. They don't have the civilian government does not have a real reign, does not have its hands firmly on the reins of the Pakistani economy or the Pakistani country, period. The military has a better hold on those reins. So because of the corruption, because of the weak civilian government, this guy was in trouble to begin with. Then pile on all the corruption charges and problems that people have with him personally as perhaps not a very good leader, and certainly one that has had more than his fair share of trouble throughout his entire life. And the fact that he's elected not because he really was qualified, but because his wife was assassinated. You put all this in this context, and all of the negativity that's been happening between the U.S. and Pakistan right now, of which Zardari has kind of been going along with U.S. policy, and now the conditions are right for this guy to be overthrown by the military. Again, It's December 17th. I'm quite frankly shocked he is still in office. I can't believe it. He's recovering, but he hasn't returned home yet, and if I was him, I wouldn't be in any big rush. It's possible that a coup is going to occur at any second, and that brings me to the other part of the in the news story of why I think he's right for removal right this second. Again, this is not a personal... I personally don't think that much of him, and I'm not saying I hope he gets thrown out of office or anything bad happens to him. I think it's extremely likely it's getting ready to happen because of the second thing, which is something they're referring to as Memo-gate in Pakistan right now. Have you heard about that in the American news? Of course you're not. You're supposed to be out shopping. Black Friday and Green Monday and some other Tuesday. Buy! Memo-gate's way more important than any crap you're going to go get at the Best Buy. And this may be the last nail in the coffin of Zardari, again, the president of Pakistan. So what's Memo-gate? There was a memo released that got into a reporter's hands, or somebody, actually I think it was from the Financial Times, a U.S. Publication, that a Pakistani, this memo from a top Pakistani diplomat, I think it was the U.S. diplomat from Pakistan, who passed a memo through to Admiral Mike Mullins just after the capture and killing of Osama bin Laden. Remember that back in May? So at this point, at that exact juncture, when the Pakistani military was they had a lot of egg on their face, they were kind of really embarrassed because, oh my, here was Osama bin Laden, you know, quite frankly, just like 50 miles from tens of thousands of Pakistani soldiers and the center of government and all this other stuff, and nobody knew. So it was a really big embarrassment for the Pakistani military, but also the Pakistani ISI, which is kind of their CIA. This was a really embarrassing point in kind of their low ebb of power. They're still the most powerful entities, but it was like they were really embarrassed and kind of, oh, geez, don't we look bad right now? At that exact moment, this memo was leaked or passed from a Pakistani diplomat to Admiral Mike Mullins, or his office, and at the time, Admiral Mike Mullins is the head of the entire U.S. military. He just retired a little while ago, but at the time, he was the head, chief of staff for the U.S. military, period. In this memo, it was requested that the United States would step in to help the Pakistani civilian government and Zardari himself to help put down the military and put them in their place a little bit. Oh, see, there's no coincidences in the news. That's why I'm saying stuff is going to happen right now. Because, as you might imagine, the Pakistani military and the Pakistani secret CIA, they're called the ISI, weren't none too pleased to hear that this memo was passed trying to limit their power and put them in their place. So, in essence, let me crystallize. Zardari sent a note, passed it just like in, back in first grade. Pass a note. Do you like me? Yes or no? He passed a note to the U.S. government saying, hey, will you guys help me if the military tries a coup to take over power or take more power from the civilian government? Because we don't trust them, maybe we don't like them, and we would like U.S. help to kind of cordon them off and put them in their place right now while they have egg all over their face from the Osama bin Laden caper. Does that make sense? Because that's exactly what happened. Now, to reality, to finish this up, the Pakistani military is furiously pissed off about this. Again, surprise, surprise, because they do truly hold the real power and really do call all the real shots in what's happening in Pakistan. And so this is a further embarrassment to them, but it's an embarrassment they can do something about because they have the real power. In particular, a guy that you should know already. If you took my class, you do. General Ashfaq Kayani. He is the most powerful person in Pakistan. General Kayani is the man. He is the equivalent of what I just talked about with Admiral Mike Mullins, the chief of staff of the military. He's the head military guy in Pakistan. Quite frankly, he is the most powerful man in Pakistan. There ain't even a close second. And this guy hates Zardari. I think he hates him personally. He hates him as a leader. He hates him because Zardari's corrupt. He hates Zardari. Now, put two and two together. The head guy for the Pakistani military, who hates Zardari already and doesn't trust him and doesn't like him and doesn't like his leadership because Pakistan is sucking, is now in a position where they have this Memo-gate, that's been released suggesting that this guy's trying to undercut the Pakistani military, and they are pushing, Kayani and his group are pushing this to the max. At this exact juncture that This memo has come out, and Zardari leaves the country for health reasons. Put them together, Zardari's time is done. All of his people are saying, no, 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 he's not going to step down, he's not going to resign. General Kayani and all that crew have already said, dude, you might as well step down. You don't want to play now. We got you, you're in ill health, the country sucks, mostly under your leadership, and now we got this Memo-gate to stack up against you. And there are calls now being made that this is like high treason. The military folks are looking at this as a treasonous act. That Zardari and the civilian government are going to a foreign power to try to get them to come and basically cut off the Pakistani military at the kneecaps. And this is not going to go, it has not gone over well with the Pakistani military, period. And it's probably not going to go over well with the Pakistani people who hate the United States and hate United States foreign policy in Pakistan. Now do you see why I'm impassioned about this Memo-gate and why I think it's a big deal? Because the Pakistani people are going to trash, they already have, but they're going to continue to trash Zardari as a U.S. stooge who's caving in and sucking up to and kissing up to and asking for U.S. help to come dismember his own country. Again, I'm not saying that's what I think. That's the way it's going to be interpreted and spun, and it has been interpreted and spun inside the Pakistani media, of which the Pakistani ISI and the Pakistani military kind of control a little bit of that too. Ah! You see it all, the big picture coming together here. That's why this guy's in some trouble. I don't know how many more hours or days Zardari has left in office. I mean, he's a survivor. He's one of those political people that you just simply cannot believe is still in power after all of his stunts and felonies and the country not doing well and stuff like this. But somehow he still is in power. Much like Berlusconi over in Italy. He survived for over a decade screwing the Italian people. So I'm not 100% confident that Zardari will be forced from power. But boy, the conditions are right for him to be picked. Pun intended. If you don't know General Kayani, by the way, he is the most powerful and important person to know in Pakistan. His opinions do matter. He does control a nuclear-armed country with a sizable military that's helping the U.S. fight the war on terror. So you should know him. Zardari, he'll probably be gone in another, if not a few hours, in another year or so, if not a few more years. Kayani ain't going anywhere for a while, so he's one to know. Check out his profile. I'm going to post up a new profile for him later tonight, and Klaus did an awesome image of him. Go check out the image of General Kayani, the caricature that Klaus did. It's spot on. He's a interesting character, Zardari interesting character for different reasons. But that's what's going on in Pakistan right now. An embattled president with a possible heart attack who's going to get body slammed for Memo-gate if he even returns to his own country. That's what's going on in other news, Pakistan.